Right now, I want to sort of look at the criminal justice system, first of all, by just reminding us that our new Home Secretary, Priti Patel, has basically told the annual conference of police chiefs that they're getting 20,000 new officers over the next 3 years, so they better bloody well sort out crime in this country. Makes it sound so simple, doesn't it? Give the police back most of the officers you fired a few years back and then expect them to wave a magic wand. But I want to view what she said through the prism of what our Chief Inspector of Constabulary has said. His name is Sir Tom Windsor. And I have to say, and I've read a lot of these reports over the years, I've never read anything like it. I mean, it's absolutely...
Yes, he doesn't mince his words, does he?
He accuses the court system, not forget, hundreds of courts have closed in recent times. He accuses the court system of, and I'm quoting it, of such appalling inefficiencies and failures that justice is being denied almost to the point of it being extinguished in some cases. Sir Tom took aim at the police, how crime detection rates were woefully low, with officers, and I'm quoting again, run ragged and facing severe dangers on the streets and elsewhere. While our failure to rehabilitate criminals behind bars, yes, dear listener, that old chestnut once again, he says that prisons have become, and I'm quoting, a petri dish for the most deleterious activities. So will this promise of 20,000 new coppers and, well, that's about it, do anything to address these concerns? We're joined by, we're joined today by our QC. Yes, we are. Chris Daw is on the line now. Good afternoon to you, my friend.
Afternoon, Matthew.
Lovely speaking to you. Of course, none of what is in Sir Tom Windsor's report is going to come as much of a surprise to you at the coalface.
Well, no, for two particular reasons. I know Tom Windsor, and I've discussed these things with him. I'm not going to talk about our private conversations, but all I can say is this. Tom Windsor has as much knowledge about the operation of our criminal justice system as pretty much anybody out there. He's been supervising and overseeing policing for many years, as well as now the fire and rescue services, and he does not pull his punches.
He certainly doesn't.
He's an independent inspector. And everything he says about the catastrophic state of our criminal justice system is true. Those of us who are inside the system have been screaming at the top of our voices about this for years and years and years. I've said to you, Matthew, you come along one day, you come with us, and then you go back and tell your listeners about the catastrophic state of our criminal justice system. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe that it's supposed to be a system of justice. If you came and watched cases being delayed because there's no lawyer to represent the defendant, witnesses are not told to come to court, half the courts in some buildings are shut, even though there are judges sitting around waiting to come and try cases. The courts are shut because there's no money to open them. They won't even pay the heating bills in some places. It's an absolute disgrace, and Tom Windsor has, thankfully, for someone in his position, has come out there and said it how it is, and it's really important that he's done it.
Is it? I mean, it's, even listening to you again detailing the sort of catalogue of failures that are out there, I still find it shocking, Chris, if I'm honest. And what is the principal cause of these failings? Is it austerity?
Yeah, there are a number of related causes, but the most important one is that the Justice Department, the Ministry of Justice, suffered the largest single percentage cut of any department when the round of austerity cuts took place 10 years or so ago. It's 40% of the Ministry of Justice budget. And as you've rightly said, there are well over 20,000 police officers down. There are something like 25 or 30,000 police staff down.
That's critical, that figure.
When you add them together, it's almost 50,000 of those working in policing alone. That's not including prosecutors and the huge cuts in prosecution budget. It's not including the massive cuts in the court budgets, the massive cuts in prison budgets, despite the prison numbers going up and up and up. We're well over 80,000. We're at record levels. We're sending people to prison. I mean, imagine if all the courts were open. Half the country would be in prison. I mean, it's just absolutely, it's a catastrophe. And Matthew, I've invited you to come.
I'm going to
come. And you're going to come and report firsthand rather than just listening to people like me. But your listeners out there, go to your courts. They're your courts. They're representing you, the British public. They're doing justice in your name. Go along to a magistrate's court. Go to a Crown Court. Watch it, and then express your disgust to the politicians you elect, because they're the only ones that can do anything about it.
I'm going to actually be in court as a witness in my stalker case in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be in court anyway.
We'll not talk about that.
I better not.
No, we don't want to prejudice the case.
I don't want to jump all over Priti Patel, but she has sort of stood in front of the rank and file of the police, and she, as far as I'm concerned, has basically told them, I'm giving you 20,000 more officers, fix it. Will that make any difference?
I mean, she's the worst Home Secretary in living memory. And I'll tell you what we've had. We've had Theresa May, we've had Michael Howard, we've had absolutely shocking people. But
David Blunkett.
David Blunkett, she's got the gall.
Jack, take off your veil straw. Do you remember him?
Okay, listen, you're right. There's a long list of them. But she's the worst of the lot, and I'll tell you why. Because what she told the conference yesterday was that all you need is 20,000, and you rightly said at the beginning of this conversation, 20,000 doesn't even take you back to where you were 10 years ago, and it doesn't address the 20 or 25,000 support staff who have been cut. So what she's saying to senior police officers who are doing their best with ridiculous resource implications and resource cuts every day is she's saying, I'm going to give you a load of targets again. Targets, just the exact thing that has never worked in the criminal justice system. It's never worked in the NHS. It's completely lacking in any attempt to address, as Sir Thomas said today, the total waste of space that is our prison system, that essentially just warehouses criminals and then puts them back on the streets with absolutely no prospect of rehabilitation, no prospect of getting a job. Many of them homeless as well, and have no choice but to return to crime. It's simplistic jargon. And she's a joke as a Home Secretary, and this Prime Minister, when it comes to criminal justice policy, is worse than a joke. It's not a joke. You're for it every day.
Your profession is better represented than most in the Palace of Westminster, the House of Lords. There's loads of lawyers sitting in, former lawyers, our Commons as well. How come having such proximity to the mechanics, the levers of power, how come it's in such a bad situation? If we're talking about like the pub trade, like we've been talking about earlier, or industry or farming, all of which are a bit remote from government, I could maybe understand it. But law is right at the heart of it.
Sir Tom's has made the point today, hasn't he? Politicians are not interested in criminal justice because there's no votes in criminal justice.
But you see, hang on that. So I thought, you go back through election campaigns, tough on crime. We used to hear that all the time as a central plank of political thinking.
Well, we've had tough on crime, and that's what the government have announced. What's their only criminal justice policy, apart from the 20,000, not extra, but 20,000 partial replacement cops that have been announced. Their only other policy has been to increase prison sentences for certain categories of offence, so that people spend more time in prison. That's it. That's all we've had. We've had nothing about the fact that actually prisons are already overcrowded, that already people are in prison for things they shouldn't be. 70%, I've told you this statistic on your programme before, Matthew, 70% of those in prison are for non-violent crimes. What the hell are they doing there? Why are they there at all? It's insanity.
Costing us £40,000 a year each in incarceration.
a year, and many of them have got, something like 20% with significant mental health or addiction problems that really need to be addressed and are not being addressed because they don't get addressed in prison. And people are warehoused in prison and they come out and they commit more crimes. And the fact that this government has come up with nothing except increasing prison sentences and a small increase in the existing number of police officers just tells you they are bankrupt on this subject. And the public need to do something. Get out there. As I say, members of the public, listen to me. Please go and see what's being done in your name in every court in the land, and then write to your MP. Do something about it. Make it a priority. So we prove wrong.
Do you think MPs will listen to Sir Tom Windsor? Because, as I said, I've read, must have read thousands of reports over the years, and I have never seen such language as in his.
No.
It's really eye-opening.
I agree with you. Will they listen to him? No, they won't. They won't listen to him for the reason he himself has identified. They don't care because, sadly, and you can hear the passion in my voice, Matthew, because I've been in this job. I've been in the criminal justice for 25, 26 years, and my passion is that it serves the public. It reduces crime, that it keeps dangerous, violent people off the street, that people who have been raped or seriously assaulted or otherwise a victim of crime don't have to wait 6 months, 9 months, a year, 15 months to give evidence. And when they do give evidence, maybe the case gets adjourned because there's not enough judges that day, or because the pipes are broken in the building, and they have to go away and cry themselves to sleep thinking, I've built myself up for months to give evidence, and this has happened to me, and I can't be bothered going back next time. I'm not going to do it again. And this happens every single day in every single criminal court building in our country. And it's an absolute disgrace. And people need to know about it. If they don't know about it, then they can't make their views known when they come to vote.
It's been my pleasure to act as a conduit once again for you, Chris, to get your message across to the public. I would say not only go and check out your courts, you might even see me at one of them, both in the gallery and in the dock, you never know. But also, I really, really would advocate you have a look at what Sir Tom Windsor has said today, because it's truly, truly eye-opening. Chris Daw QC, barrister at Sergeant's Inn down in London. Most indebted to you for your time. You listen to the Matthew Wright Show on Talk Radio in association with Switchcraft. Start saving now at switchcraft.co.uk.
Talk Radio.